All right, hey, welcome to another edition of JTJU, where we all try to be just a little better at the game of Clash of Clans. We got a new video up for you this time, looking at how to coach your new clashers through a feeder clan concept. I mean, a lot of people set up feeder clans more to just handle overflow, but if you really want to use that feeder to grow and nurture, new clashers to your clan, get them to. I mean, you could be awesome. I'm not saying that, but to get them to understand how you guys approach war, the tactics, the process, all that stuff. Maybe this video could help you out. I mean, it shows you how JTJ does it, and then you can go use parts of it or none of it at all. With that said, let's get to the video. Okay, so here is the example war. It's actually a real war that we're going to use as a test bed, if you will, to communicate how we coach a little bit in the feeders, in JTJ2 specifically. One of our main guys is down there. A couple, actually, more than 5 of our main guys are in the clan. So I think that's one of the first things. You want a lot of involvement from your main clan in the feeder clan in terms of actually either being down there, if it's not an alternate account, or an alternate account. So you can talk with the feeder clashers in terms of how your clan approaches attacks and how they should apply it to a given base as they look at wars. We use Clash Caller to do a lot of that communication that's specific to a base. And the first thing we do when we set up any wars, we'll set up Clash Caller, and then we'll actually come out here, and the veterans from the main clan will actually go through the bases in the enemy, and for the ones that they think are not obvious, they'll put in the name of the target base the attack type. So like here, KHC1 Ho. And I mean, you can put whatever you want there in terms of how to describe it. This is JTJ slang for attacks, paraphrased version of it. It's a little more anal at JTJ, but the one that they want to look at is this KH Ho down here at number 19. But the big thing to take away is, first of all, use Clash Caller. The first pass of coaching is to actually, potentially mark on all the bases. Instead of putting the enemy name, we usually put enemy name, colon, and then the attack type, right? So you don't have to use JTJ slang. You can put whatever you want. But that method of using the actual tool that people are reserving and updating their attack results on really kind of softly pushes them, if you will, to at least think about different styles of attacks. So that's the first thing, using the name. Now, the second thing that I would think about is, and you don't see it here. This is an archive of the war, so you don't see it. But let me pop over, and I'll show you what a real war looks like, so we can point at. So here's what the real war screen looks like. This is the same war in play, still happening when it was still live. And here's 19. You see, there's another box that appeared, right? And this is where we'll actually put comments at a high level to support what that means for that base. So in this case, if we toggle over again to what those notes actually said, now the downside of Clash Caller is those base level notes disappear once it's archived, so I have to go to Notepad here. And this is what Colonel, one of our veterans down in the clan, and that's another comment maybe, is that as you set up your feeders, having either alts or your actual veterans go down and spend time in the clan, so there's always people there that understand how the clan approaches attacks, what the attacks mean, how they apply to bases, going into pretty level detail for new clan clashers to help them through it. So here's the first level comments, right? Not too deep. Probably took Colonel maybe, I don't know, 5 minutes, 3 minutes to look at this base and comment that. But you can see where the clasher who might be looking at it will begin to understand. Okay, so he's looking for double big bombs. He's trying to figure out how to pull. He's trying to figure out a variety of things, and he's telling him how to kill it. Da 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 da. Okay, so takeaway number 2 or number 3, if we add in the having your clan involved and down there, would be to actually communicate at the base level what it is what those attacks mean, with brevity, so not a lot of detail, right? And then what we do is we actually have our own. This could happen in clan chat, or it could happen in a social environment outside of the clan. And in our case, we use. Let's see here. Let's see if I can pull it up. Band. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So here's band. And so we call this JTJU Nation because we're all into cool names. But what it is really a band. It's an app based on band. You can download it from iOS. It runs on desktop, iOS, Android, and allows people to talk and share photos. So of course, there's a variety of things being talked about here. Let me zoom down to maybe one of like right here. So here you can see if the Clashers ask, they post out in band and they'll say, "Hey, can I get more detail on 19?" And then in that case, either people in the clan or somebody that's not in the clan may post far more verbose explanations of how that attack that was described in Clash Caller as cage, comma, ho, what the hell that means beyond the comments you had at the base level, right? And sometimes that's imagery like this. But let's look at the one that we specifically did for 19. So Colonel actually went ahead and created a similar. So here was when Geo, the guy that was doing the attack, said, "Hey Colonel, I get you, cage ho, cage comma ho. What do you mean by that?" Well, I read the base notes. I need more detail. So sometimes Colonel will draw this up. Here you go, and it'll just vomit a picture. And then in addition, it's a bonus round. He'll actually put in a far more verbose explanation. Now this might be in band, right? You don't want to put all this into Clash Caller. But in band, we kind of commented, and there's a double bonus here. One, we're helping Geo understand what the attack means. But at the same time, if you're using a social app, right, the value of it versus clan chat is that it's retained. So people can come in 6 hours later, 4 hours later, clan chat would have scrolled off. But now they can, at their leisure, review what was being talked about at a given base and learn at the same time, even though it's not their base. They're seeing conversation and focused strategy discussion around a specific style of base and begin to get how your clan's trying to approach the attack. Okay, at that point you're done, so let's toggle over to the actual attack and see it actually play out since we spent so much time looking at it. Okay, I'm back. So here's the actual archived war. And here's Geo. He 3-starred. Woot! But let's go ahead and hit the replay and we'll talk through it. So remember, it was a cage, comma, ho. So no golem, straight up. King in there and then banging it home. Let's hit replay. Whoops. Had my pen on. Hit replay. And we'll leave it slow so we can talk about it a little bit as it goes, but zoom out a little bit. So the first thing you're going to see is, if you read those notes that Colonel was posting in, is that he's trying to. Let me pause this for a second. Whoops, that's not a pause. But what he was concerned about in the notes was these spots. Now, granted, not well pathed, not well placed bomb risk, but in the theory of being better safe than sorry, he was trying to talk to Geo about, all right, how would we mitigate that these positions might be bombs? I mean, if they're Teslas, you can probably just plow through the base. Overall, it's very huge dense. There's no spots at all. So, if they're not there, they're outside, and you can just power through. So, Colonel decided to show him, the heavy trigger style, which, in JTJ, we kind of refer to it as, in the language, would be like trigger drag, cluster kill, then you'd cage, which is the drive team, off the hoe, right? That would be the name for this attack in formal slang, because he's triggering first as a first phase, and doing a heavy trigger in that, meaning he's committing a lot of slots, 30 slots, hogs, and then also healing to try to pull it out. Overkill, yes, but in terms of a training device and helping people think about, oh, okay, so you can trigger heavy with a goal of doing two things, triggering and diffusing, made sense. It was worth doing. So we keep going. In go the hogs. They're tearing up the base. Well, they're not done yet, and they're done. So you might, in terms of like, actually, was that an effective cut? Right, a dedicated deep dive trigger team. Was that a wise move? Did he get good payback? I don't know. I've looked at a lot of video in terms of trying to figure out, what's a good payback for a snipe, which is what this really is. He took out 3 buildings, or he'll end up taking out 3 buildings that are defensive in nature, and it cost him a spell in 6 units, or 30 slots. And what I'm kind of leaning around is it looks about 5 slots per building, a defensive building, not non-buildings like gold storage that can't hurt you. We don't care about these. What we're caring about is how many slots that are defensive related, how many buildings that are defensive related can we get down? And I think it's somewhere between around 5. 4, maybe 4. So he kind of overpaid because he also used a spell and process. So again, might be a little bit over, but again, as a learning device, it's okay. We'll keep going. So here we go. Hogs are done now. They're going to die. And so we're now completed the trigger and drag phase of the T-duct. That's what that, when we say T-duct, that's what that's referring to. So there's a trigger phase that just happened. Now we're doing the drag phase, which is moving the clan castle troops to the attack line you want to deal with. And then we'll move to the cluster phase, which is optional. You cluster because it's a more effective way for the wizards that are end up flanking to take it out. And then the kill happens, which is the wizards in this case, because it's a CC 21 that's going on down at the bottom. So let's hit play again. So see how he didn't cluster and how that's cost him a little bit? So if he would have used a little bit more time as he brought him down, right? So he had the drag troop, which was the guy shooting the lab. But if he would have then pulled, done a side-to-side motion that you see in some bases where so the troops would go like this, they would cluster around here, allowing a much better, and then drop your CC from over here, so they come back, and then you flank with your wizards like here and here. You'll get a much more impact out of the AoE attack from the wizards. It's a niche point. I mean, it's a very small point. It's not really going to be like the win or loss. I'm just saying in terms of when you're against a base that's really well built, might be something you want to start practicing. So let's keep going. So you had a lot of troops invested in this, and only two out of the 4 wizards died. I like the 4 spot deploy. That's good. They get in quick, and that enables them. That's an interesting point. The spot deploys there all at the same time, probably 4 fingers. What that does for you is it allows these lines to, for sure, move mid, because these other 2 guys will have cut, in effect, the pathing that the hogs will be looking at, which is defensive buildings. And that's where you really want to be. Once you get those guys mid, you're good to go. So we'll keep rolling. And in they roll. And sure enough, there's this Tesla's in the mid. So the whole process around trying to mitigate if there were bombs in the mid ended up not being a problem. But did you see? Too bad I can't rewind. But let me pause for a second. But did you see when the hogs moved through, their pathing? Oh, that's ugly. Their pathing was actually like this. So it was a valid concern. If those would have been bomb placements, the actual attack style that he was using, he would have taken some damage. So if this guy changes his base design to actually pop those Teslas out a little bit and move bombs in, it'd at least be a halfway decent anti-hog. I mean, it's not really good still, but really good is when you got the doubles with nice pathing that we talk about on the site. There's an article that refers to it. But would have been better for this guy instead of the roll. So in the end, the concern and mitigation was not required. The Teslas were in the mid, and that's not something you have to deal with. But still, the techniques applied and discussed were solid. And I think that's the kind of thing that we think in your feeder should be happening. Even if it's overkill, letting them practice and experiment with techniques that they're going to need at difficult level bases against card clans that have great base designs. The only way they're going to get that is if somebody that knows how to do it is talking them through it, even against bases that might not require it. So hope it helps. Otherwise, good luck in your clan wars. We'll talk to you soon.
Don't touch that, Larry.
Touch it, Larry. You know you want to.
Larry, don't touch
Larry,
that.
do it. Do it, Larry.
Larry!
Yes! Welcome to the first day of the rest of your life, Larry.
What'd I just
Good
say,
job,
Larry?
Good job.